Under an obsidian sky, the stars of truth shine brighter than they ever could during the day. Join our nighttime journey through the mysteries of the soul and the secrets of the universe. Subscribe today and let the darkness reveal the light you've been searching for.
The morning my stepmother called me a guest in this house, I was 17 years old, standing in the kitchen I had cleaned every Saturday for 6 years, holding a plate of eggs I had cooked for a family that had already decided I didn't belong to them anymore. Her name was Diane. She married my father when I was 11, 8 months after my mother passed. She had 2 sons from her previous marriage, Marcus and Cole, and from the day she moved her furniture into our house, the geometry of our family shifted completely. Her boys got the larger bedrooms. Her boys got the newer laptops. Her boys got the college savings accounts my father set up with the money my mother's life insurance had left behind. I got a smaller plate at dinner, and the understanding that gratitude was expected for even that. My father didn't fight any of it. That was the part I spent years trying to make sense of. He wasn't a cruel man by nature. He was a man who had found a woman who made him feel less alone, and he had decided, quietly and completely, that maintaining her comfort was worth more than maintaining his daughter. He never said it out loud. He didn't have to. Every decision he made for 11 years said it for him. By the time I turned 18, I had learned 3 things about myself. I was good at being invisible. I was better at saving money, and I was never going to let anyone decide my worth again. I graduated high school with a partial scholarship to a state university 3 hours away. My father handed me a card with $100 in it and told me he was proud of me. Diane stood behind him, smiling in a way that didn't reach her eyes. Marcus and Cole were somewhere in the house playing video games. No one offered to help me load my car. I drove away with everything I owned in the back seat, and I did not cry until I hit the highway. College was hard in the way that builds rather than breaks. I worked 2 jobs, one at a campus cafe, one doing bookkeeping remotely for a small landscaping company whose owner had posted on a job board looking for someone detail-oriented and cheap. I was both. I ate a lot of rice and beans. I learned to repair my own laptop. I took every finance elective I could find alongside my accounting degree, because I had decided early that money was a language, and I intended to become fluent. The summer after sophomore year, I started a small tax preparation side business, targeting other students and young freelancers in my college town. I charged less than the big chains, and worked twice as hard. By junior year, it had grown into something I could barely manage alongside my coursework. I hired 2 other students to help me. I bought myself a real desk. When I graduated, I had no debt. I had paid my way through entirely, and I had enough saved to rent a small office and turn my side business into a real one. By the time I was 26, I owned a mid-sized accounting and financial consulting firm, with 11 employees, and a client list that included 3 regional restaurant groups, a logistics company, and a commercial real estate developer who had found me through a mutual contact and never left. I lived alone in a 2-bedroom apartment I loved. I drove a car I had paid for in cash. I had a retirement account, a brokerage account, and a savings account that I checked every Sunday morning, with the same quiet satisfaction some people feel watching a garden grow. My father and Diane did not know about any of it. We had not spoken in 4 years. The last conversation had been a phone call on my 24th birthday during which Diane had mentioned, in that particular tone she had always used when delivering information designed to destabilize, that Marcus was thinking about going to law school, and that it would be wonderful if the family could pool resources to support him. I had asked her, very calmly, to clarify what she meant by family. She had hung up. My father had not called back. I was fine with the silence. I had built a life that did not require their presence in it, and I had done it carefully and on purpose. What I had not anticipated, what I had perhaps been naive not to anticipate, was that 4 years of silence would end not with an apology or a reckoning, but with a problem they needed me to solve. It was a Thursday afternoon in October, when my assistant knocked on my office door and told me I had a walk-in. I did not typically take walk-ins, but she said the man had given his name as my father. I sat very still for a moment. Then I told her to send him in. He looked older. That was my first thought. Not anger, not grief. Just the simple observation that time had moved on his face in ways I hadn't been present to witness. He was thinner than I remembered. There were deep lines around his mouth. He sat down across from me without being invited to, and placed his hands on his knees in the way men do when they are trying to appear smaller than they are. "You look good," he said. "Thank you," I said. "What can I do for you?" He spent a few minutes on the ambient architecture of apology phrases that circled accountability without landing on it, references to how hard things had been, mentions of how much he had thought about calling. I had heard variations of this kind of speech before from clients who had made financial decisions they knew were wrong and wanted absolution before discussing the bill. I was patient with it the way I was patient with those clients. I let him finish. Then I asked him again what I could do for him. What he needed, it turned out, was significant. Marcus had spent the past 3 years running what he had described to the family as a real estate investment venture, and what a more honest observer would describe as a pattern of highly leveraged, deeply speculative bets on commercial properties that had not performed. He owed $240,000 to a private lending firm that had begun the process of pursuing a judgment against him. The judgment, if obtained, would result in wage garnishment and potentially the forced sale of assets. Diane was in a state of distress that my father described as unmanageable. Cole had offered what he could, which was not much. My father had liquidated most of his own savings to cover a portion of it, but there was still a $160,000 gap. He had come to me because I was, in his words, good with money. I looked at him across my desk, the desk I had bought myself, in the office I had built myself, in the business I had grown from nothing, and I thought about the $100 bill in the graduation card. I thought about the college fund that had quietly become Marcus's college fund. I thought about my mother's life insurance money. I thought about the kitchen I cleaned every Saturday for 6 years. I appreciate you coming to me, I said. Give me a week to look at the situation. I'll need the name of the lending firm and the loan documentation. He looked so relieved I almost felt sorry for him. He sent the documents that evening. The loan was through a firm called Meridian Capital Solutions, a mid-sized private lender that specialized in short-term commercial real estate debt. I had come across Meridian before in my work with the commercial real estate developer on my client list. They were aggressive, but not uncommon. Marcus's loan was delinquent by 4 months. The amount owed with penalties was $212,000. Meridian had not yet obtained a judgment, but they had filed the initial paperwork. I spent 3 days reviewing everything very carefully. Then I called Meridian's accounts receivable department and asked to speak to someone about purchasing the debt. Debt purchasing is not exotic. It is a standard financial instrument. Lenders sell delinquent accounts to third parties all the time, often at a discount, because recovering a certain percentage now is preferable to the time and expense of litigation. Meridian had already invested in the filing costs. They were facing a borrower with diminishing assets. When I offered to purchase the full remaining balance at a 5% discount in exchange for immediate settlement, their accounts manager called me back within the hour. We closed the transaction in 4 business days. Marcus's debt now belonged to me. I did not tell my father. I did not tell Marcus. I did not tell Diane. I let the week I had asked for pass, and then I called my father and told him I had reviewed the situation thoroughly and had a proposal I wanted to present to him and to Marcus directly. I suggested they come to my office. My father said he'd rather not, that it was a long drive, that Diane wasn't doing well. I told him the proposal required both of them present, and that it couldn't be done over the phone. They arrived on a Tuesday. My father and Marcus together. Diane had not come, which I had expected. Marcus had always been handsome in the way of men who have never been told no, easy in his posture, quick with a smile, carrying the faint air of entitlement that clings to people who have been resourced by someone else's sacrifice. He shook my hand and looked around my office, with the expression people sometimes have when they expected something smaller. "Nice place," he said. "Thank you," I said. "Sit down." I let them settle. I offered them water. Then I opened the folder on my desk and slid the first document across to Marcus. "This is an assignment of debt agreement," I said. "It transfers the rights to your loan from Meridian Capital Solutions to a third party." Marcus looked at it. Then he looked up at me. "What third party?" he asked. "Me," I said. The room was quiet for a moment. "You purchased my debt," he said. "I purchased your debt," I confirmed. My father's face was doing something complicated. Marcus's jaw had gone slightly tight. I watched both of them process it, and I did not rush the silence. "Why would you do that?" Marcus finally asked. "Because it gives us options," I said. "If I hadn't, Meridian would have pursued the judgment, which would have meant wage garnishment and a public record. I've given this situation a different shape. What happens next depends on the conversation we're about to have." My father leaned forward. "So you can forgive the debt," he said. It wasn't really a question. His voice had that particular quality of a man who has already decided what the answer is. "I could," I said. "That's one option." "She's your family," my father said. "That's what families do. They help each other." I had rehearsed this moment many times in the weeks before they arrived. Not rehearsed in the sense of scripted, rehearsed in the sense of having sat alone in this office late at night and allowed myself to feel every version of what it might become, so that when I arrived here, I would be settled in it instead of swept by it. "I want to talk about that word," I said. "Family. Because I've been thinking about it a lot since your visit last week." My father frowned slightly. Marcus was watching me the way people watch something they're not sure is dangerous yet. "When my mother died," I said, "she had a life insurance policy. The payout was approximately $90,000. I know this because I found the paperwork when I was 16. In a box in the attic I was looking through for old photos. That money went into a joint account. By the time I was applying for college, it was gone. When I asked about a college fund, Diane told me there wasn't one. My father said nothing. His hands, still on his knees, had gone very still. Marcus and Cole both went to 4-year universities, I said. Both had their tuition and housing covered. I had a partial scholarship and 2 jobs, and I graduated without debt, which I'm proud of, but I want us to be clear about the math. The money that paid for their education came from somewhere. I think we all know where. That's not my father started. I'm not finished, I said, and something in my voice stopped him. I built this business without a single dollar of family support. Not a loan. Not a safety net. Not a conversation. 4 years ago, when I was 24 years old, the last contact I had from this family was a suggestion that I contribute to Marcus's law school fund, which, as I understand it, did not materialize. Marcus looked at the table. I don't say any of this to relitigate the past, I said. I say it because you used the word family, and I want the word to mean something real in this room rather than something convenient. My father's voice was quieter when he spoke again. What do you want, Maya? I want a structured repayment agreement, I said. Marcus pays back the principal over 5 years at a reduced interest rate 3%, which is well below what Meridian was charging. No penalties, no judgment, no public record. A clean, private arrangement between a lender and a borrower. Marcus stared at me. You want me to pay you back? I want you to pay back the money you borrowed, I said. I've simply changed who you're paying it back to. We came here because you're family, my father said, and this time there was something harder in it. Family doesn't charge family interest. Family also doesn't spend family money and pretend it never existed, I said. My voice was even. I've offered you a very fair arrangement. The alternative is that I, as the current holder of this debt, pursue the legal remedies that were already in motion when I purchased it. I don't want to do that. I want Marcus to be able to move forward. I want this to be settled. But I will not forgive it. That's my final position. The silence that followed was a different kind of silence. The kind that arrives when a structure collapses and everything that was held up by it has to find a new way to stand. My father looked at me for a long moment. I could see him looking for the 17-year-old girl in the kitchen. I could see him trying to find the version of me that could be talked into things. I watched him not find her. Marcus asked for a week to consult with someone. I said that was fine, and that I'd have my attorney send over the formal agreement. He nodded once, tightly. When they stood to leave, my father paused at the door. He didn't turn around. I did love you, he said. I want you to know that. I know, I said. I needed you to show up differently. Those aren't the same problem. He left without answering. I heard the elevator doors close. I sat for a while in the quiet of my office, the office I had built on nothing. On 2 jobs and rice and beans and the refusal to disappear, and I let the moment settle around me the way still water settles. Marcus signed the agreement 11 days later. His first payment arrived on the 1st of the following month, on time, via wire transfer. It has arrived on time every month since. I do not know what conversations happened in that house after they drove home. I do not know what Diane said when my father told her. I don't know if Marcus resents me or respects me or some combination of both that he hasn't found words for yet. What I know is this. Every dollar in that repayment agreement represents something that was taken from me and is now, slowly and legally and on my own terms, being returned. Not the way I once might have wanted. Not with apologies that land correctly. Not with a father who chooses differently when given the chance. Not with the version of my mother's memory that doesn't include what happened to her money. But returned, nonetheless. My mother used to say that some debts are written in invisible ink. You can't see them until the light hits right. She meant it about love. I think about the ways people carry more for each other than they ever say out loud. I think about her words differently now. Some debts are written in invisible ink. And sometimes you are the one who gets to hold the light.